I feel like I owe someone an apology. My dad. Look, and I mean, he's great. He's always been my hero, but I owe him an apology and anyone else that might feel the way he does. I was fortunate enough to have my dad available 24/7 my entire life, which is it's such a luxury. It's the greatest gift in the world. I know very few people probably have. And it sounds crazy, but my dad is on the older side. It was his birthday last month, and he is now into his early 70s, and I'm into my early 20s. An age is just a number, and it's kind of cool because, like, when my friends find out how old he is, they're always, like, super surprised because he doesn't look like that age. I hope I look as good as him as I get older. I'm told that I look, like a younger version of him, so I find it flattering. Shout out to dad. But my point is, I think that as you get older, I feel like you lose your voice. You become shushed. Like maybe you have a parent or a grandparent and you're talking to them, and oh boy, here comes that same story you've heard 1,000 times. They just can't help themselves but tell it again. And you're like, oh man, please, not that story again, please. For me, I'm like, oh dad, you literally just told me that. Or like at a family dinner for me, we got me, my brother, my girlfriend, having dinner with my parents, and my dad wants to tell a story. It's probably embarrassing, maybe not appropriate. And I'm like, Pops, man, you've already told us that story, you told us that story last week. And my dad is the king of just talking to anyone for like 30 minutes. He does it so effortlessly. And I'm sitting there like, dude, dad, like that poor person's with their family. Or, they're probably out and about doing stuff. They got places to be in. We do too. Like, dude, I feel like such a bad person because I never realized that as you get older, you get less people to talk to. My dad's retired. All right, he's in his 70s. He spent his whole life working to support me and my brother and my mom, He deserves it. The king needs his rest. So he's not working and around a group of people every day, unless he goes out into town for shopping or errands or whatever. My point is, when you get to a certain age, you start to lose an audience. You lose people you can talk to. The only way someone like my dad gets an audience is when they're captured, like they have no choice but to talk to him. Like when he's getting a haircut, waiting in line at Starbucks or grocery shopping and talking to the employees. Oh my gosh. I feel like our local grocery store hates my dad. I have this vision of him like terrorizing the poor employees because every time he comes home after grocery shopping, he talks about all the employees and he knows all their names. Like it's really cool and it's really sweet, but it stresses me out because I'm so antisocial. Like I hate grocery shopping. I hate the idea of wandering around aimlessly looking for things, but I'm on a budget. I know what I need. I want to speed run the grocery store. Just get what I want and need and get the heck out of there before someone tries to strike up a conversation with me. Maybe you feel that way too, like you hate being out in public and some random stranger comes up and starts talking to you. I never realized that I am taking away my dad's audience at times, Like it makes me feel good hopping on here on YouTube. I can talk about whatever I want and share it with whoever wants to hear this. And I'm selfish because I never stop to think that it probably makes my dad feel so good to talk to a stranger and make a new friend. On my dad's birthday, I took him out to lunch. We had such a great day. And we went to grab a coffee and stuff. And he spent like 30 minutes talking to this other old dude. Is that okay to say? I don't mean it in a bad way, but like we walked in, my girlfriend held the door for me and my dad, and this other old guy was there and, said that I should be doing it. And we were like, oh, it's his birthday, like we treat him like a princess. And my dad was defending me. And him and this other gentleman just talked about like how good of a job him and my mom raised me. And I'm sitting there like, oh, Dad, here comes that story again. Come on, man. Oh, please don't say it. Oh, Dad, it's been like 30 minutes. We gotta bounce. Yet he probably had such a great time. You know, it probably felt refreshing for him to talk to someone close in his age that had kids about my age. And this guy thought my dad did a great job raising me, you know. Just this last week, I spent a day at my local hospital doing some volunteer work, playing some music for all the old folks there, and it was a blast. I get to do this every year, a couple times a year, and the people there love having me and my friends. It's really cool. And that's when it got me thinking that, like, dang, all of these people don't get to interact with, like, younger kids, you know? I probably reminded them of their grandkids they haven't seen in a while, or the grandkids they wished they had or something. And I loved talking to them. I literally spent the whole day there, either playing music or talking to them. And it did wonders for my soul. Seriously. I was so captivated by their stories, you know, their expressions and enthusiasm and enjoyment for the music we got to play for them. And a lot of them said this is the most enjoyment and excitement they get to have. And it kind of made me sad. And while I was there, I got to hear a lot about all the different programs the hospital has. And there was this one, it was like a senior assistant kind of deal where you just spend the day with like people in the retirement homes and bring them out and spend time with them each week in public so they can stay up to date on everything going on in the world and socialize. Unfortunately, I don't meet the requirements to do that kind of work, mainly the age requirement, but I loved that idea and I want to do something like that. But what I can do now is still work at being a better listener to anyone. You know, in a lot of like interviews, you get asked like, you know, are you a good listener? What's one of your strengths? What is something you need to improve on? And I always say, you know, I am a good listener because everyone deserves to be heard and no problem is too small to be heard. But at the same time, you can always be a better listener. Like, I feel like everyone needs to be a better listener. It is something you can always practice and find ways to dig deeper. And I almost don't believe when someone says, oh, I'm a good listener. Like, when I've interviewed people before, they always say I'm a good listener. And also, pro tip, all right? When you want a job or like a promotion in employers or girls, for my fellas out there, all right? When they hear you say that you're trying to be a better listener, that's the ticket, all right? Hey, you know, what do I know? And, you know, listening isn't just about hearing words. It's about engaging, making someone feel valued. Maybe you feel like you've been a poor listener with someone close to you and you want to do a better job. And a simple like, hey, I've been thinking and I just want to say I appreciate you more than I let on. Dude, that would probably mean the world to them. Now that I think about it, like literally last Sunday, my dad got a new iPhone. And oh man, was it a mess. You know, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. And like, technology has changed a lot in the 23 years I've been alive. Like, how much has it changed for someone like my dad or even somebody older? And it's funny because my dad isn't into social media. So when I was setting up his phone for him, it was a lot easier than setting up mine. But like my dad, a lot of parents and people older than my dad, they don't do social media. That's why the face-to-face interactions mean so much to him. They mean so much to them. And that's why that program for seniors at the hospital I was talking about is trying to make efforts to help seniors stay connected and in touch with the world around them so they don't feel closed off without being on social media. So, you want to be a better listener, or you think you are a good listener, here's what I would do. All right, every night when I sit down to have dinner with my family, there's no cell phones near the dinner table. so you're not tempted to doom scroll when someone's not talking or talking to you. But for me, it's so I don't keep checking like messages from work. I'm guilty of it, okay? I'm caught red-handed every time. But when someone is talking to you, make sure you let them finish their thoughts and sentences before jumping in. I know it's a conversation going back and forth, but sometimes it can be hard to not hop in when you have something to say that's relatable, but let that person finish their story and thoughts. Because, like, for me, if I don't finish what I'm saying, I never remember what I was going to say, and then I feel like, ugh, it's probably so good. But I'm guilty of this when my dad is talking because I probably already know what he's gonna say. So I have the urge to finish his sentence. And it's not nice even if I know what he's going to say or he's already told the same story before. Letting him finish talking makes him feel good, and it makes anyone feel good when they're being heard. Also, the basics of making eye contact helps show engagement. When you're sitting down or standing up, try to be expressive and use open body language. I think this was really hard for me. I was really shy growing up, so making eye contact was something I was so poor at. I started working on it honestly really late, when I was in high school. And I'm better at it now, but I wish it was easier when I was younger. And honestly, it really is such a blessing sitting down around the dinner table, talking with all my family, sharing stories, talking about the day, which at times can be frustrating or hilarious. There's a lot of laughter in my house. But whether you're in a group conversation setting or just one-on-one, the one-on-one is the most awkward and hardest to keep a conversation going, in my opinion. So try to ask open-ended and thoughtful questions instead of the, oh, that's cool, or, oh man, that's sick. I'm guilty of that too. And it doesn't always have to be a fully loaded question that relates to the story. Just keep it simple so it shows you have a genuine interest in the conversation and you want to hear more. Repeating back parts of the conversation or phrases shows good attention and retention span. Just like a book report, are those book reports you did in school that you hated are the cheat codes to real life conversations. As a kid, I loved to read. I hated talking to people. But if you treat a conversation like a book report, who were the main characters? What was the plot? What were they up to? What'd they do? Where did they go? And then sometimes you're like, oh, dude, what the heck just happened? I gotta know more. I gotta listen more. I gotta hear the end of this story. Or, hey, I got some questions for what just happened. Can you clarify that? Or, I can't wait to hear how this thing ends. I really want you to tell me. The biggest thing is that people sometimes want to be heard and not told what to do. My biggest thing, when I have the floor and I'm talking about whatever, I just like to be heard. If I want advice or a suggestion, I'll flat out just ask so it is very clear. Otherwise, I feel like my thoughts are being overshadowed or that my feelings aren't valid and what I'm saying is wrong. But at the end of the day, if you walk away feeling man, I had such a blast hearing that story, or dude, that person is so much fun to talk to, you did it right. Take it from me, all right? I'm shy. I'm antisocial. When I'm in public, I have that feeling sometimes geez, dude, I would fake a heart attack right now to get out of this conversation. You know what I'm saying? But I'm working on being a better listener, okay? And it all starts with practice and small changes. It sounds simple, and it is. And you'd be surprised at how big of a change these simple changes would impact your relationships. So, with that being said, I think I'm gonna go find my dad and listen and talk to him. Maybe I'll even treat him to lunch. So, I gotta bounce. Thank you guys so much for watching and for listening, for taking the time out of your day to be here. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.